Malignant lymphoma, stage 2. 5 devastating words that changed everything. Yet the thick medical folder with my biopsy results sat untouched on our marble kitchen island for 5 excruciating days. My husband Prescott walked past it every morning, setting his imported coffee mug beside it. My daughter Sloane placed her designer handbag on top of it. My son-in-law Harrison even used it as a coaster. Not one of them, not once, bothered to ask why there was a hospital folder with oncology department stamped in bold red letters across my name. For 37 years, I'd been Celeste Reynolds, the flawless corporate wife, the impeccable hostess, the devoted grandmother, the woman who remembered everyone's birthdays, who organized charity galas that raised millions, who maintained the perfect home. The woman who had become so invisible in her own life that a cancer diagnosis couldn't even capture her family's attention. The morning I missed driving my grandchildren to their piano lessons because of my follow-up appointment, my phone exploded with notifications. The oncologist was explaining survival rates when Sloane's call interrupted us. "Mother, where are you? The twins have been waiting at the conservatory for 20 minutes. I told you I had that investor meeting today." "I had a doctor's appointment," I said quietly. "What could possibly be more important than Aria and Jasper?" she snapped. "Daddy's hosting the board tonight, Harrison's finalizing the Tokyo acquisition, and now I'll have to leave my meeting to get them." Before I could mention the cancer growing inside me, she hung up. The oncologist handed me a tissue as tears escaped despite my best efforts. "Mrs. Reynolds," she said gently, "your treatment will be intensive. You'll need a strong support system. Is there someone who can help you through this?" I stared at my perfectly manicured hands, at the flawless 3-carat diamond Prescott had upgraded on our 30th anniversary, a gift selected by his assistant, and realized a devastating truth. I had no one. The family I dedicated my life to couldn't even see me when I was dying right in front of them. "No," I said, my voice suddenly steel where there had always been silk. "But I think it's time I stopped waiting for someone else to save me." I left the oncology wing clutching my death sentence, a crisp folder of treatment protocols, survival statistics, and prescriptions that would ravage my body in hopes of saving it. Rush hour crowds surged past, everyone hurrying home to lives where they mattered, to people who might notice if they disappeared. I squeezed onto a packed bus, struggling with my medical documents and designer tote that suddenly felt absurdly frivolous. A young woman with vibrant purple braids and tattoo sleeves noticed my trembling hands and immediately stood. "Take my seat. You look like you're carrying enough weight already," she said. That simple act of humanity, from a complete stranger, shattered something in me. I hadn't even realized I was crying until she pressed a tissue into my palm. "Thank you," I whispered. "Some days, strangers see us more clearly than those who claim to love us," she replied before disappearing at the next stop. Her words still echoed when my phone began its relentless buzzing. Prescott's name flashed on the screen. "Celeste, where are you? The board members arrive in 40 minutes and nothing's prepared. I reminded you about this dinner last month." Outside the window, unfamiliar streets slid by. I'd missed my stop completely, lost in the wilderness of my thoughts. "I'm not coming home for dinner," I said, my voice unnervingly steady. "What? Is this some kind of joke? Sloane said you abandoned the twins at their lesson. What's gotten into you?" The bus passed a luxury hotel where a doorman ushered in a laughing couple. Their easy intimacy felt like a knife between my ribs. "I had an oncology appointment today." "A what?" His voice finally lost its commanding edge. "Cancer, Prescott. The medical report has been on our kitchen island for 5 days, right next to where you set your coffee every morning." His response came quickly, priorities unchanged. "You can't drop this bomb an hour before the most important merger dinner of the quarter. What am I supposed to tell the board?" I ended the call mid-sentence and powered off my phone. For 37 years, I'd measured my worth by how perfectly I anticipated others' needs. Now, Facing my mortality, I realized with stunning clarity that no one had ever bothered to do the same for me. I'd become so efficient at being invisible that even cancer couldn't make me seen. The bus reached its final stop, an elegant lakeside district I'd lived 20 minutes from for decades but never visited. I stepped off into the twilight, inhaling air that tasted like possibility. For the first time since my wedding day, absolutely no one in the world knew where I was. The realization was terrifying and intoxicating. The lakeside promenade was quiet at this hour. I found myself drawn to a small cafe overlooking the water, its warm lights inviting against the darkening sky. Inside, I ordered a glass of wine, something I rarely did, especially alone. Prescott always said it was unbecoming for a woman of my position to drink in public unaccompanied. As I sipped my Cabernet, I scrolled through the missed calls and texts. Prescott had moved from angry to frantic. The caterers are here and don't know what to serve. Sloan says you've turned off your phone. This is childish, Celeste. Fine. I've ordered takeout for 20 people. Do you have any idea how this makes me look? Not one message asked how I was feeling or what the doctor had said. The final text from Prescott struck me like a physical blow. When you decide to stop this tantrum, we'll talk. But right now, you're embarrassing yourself and this family. I set down my phone and looked around the cafe. In the corner, an elderly couple shared a dessert, laughing softly together. At another table, a woman about my age sat alone, sketching in a notebook, completely content in her solitude. I'd never known that kind of contentment, that ability to exist peacefully without constantly attending to someone else's needs. The realization hit me with startling clarity. I didn't want to go home. Not tonight, not tomorrow, maybe not ever. I pulled out my laptop, the one I used for cataloging charity auction items and maintaining Prescott's social calendar, and did something I'd never done before. I booked a suite at the Grand Lakeside Hotel, a luxury property on the water's edge that I'd once helped organize a fundraiser at but never stayed in myself. The suite cost more for one night than I typically spent on myself in a month. I didn't care. The diamond tennis bracelet on my wrist, last year's anniversary gift that Prescott had his assistant select, could pay for a month's stay. Then I did something even more uncharacteristic. I called a real estate agent whose card I'd kept from a charity event. Valencia? This is Celeste Reynolds. I know it's after hours, but I'm looking for a property. Something immediately available, preferably lakeside. Yes, to purchase, not rent. I can see listings tomorrow morning. After ending the call, I texted Sloan one short message. I'm fine. Taking some time for myself. We'll be in touch. Then I turned off my phone again. The hotel room was exquisite, spacious, elegant with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the lake. As I slipped between the high thread count sheets, I realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd made a decision solely for myself. The thought terrified and thrilled me in equal measure. Tomorrow, I would begin creating a life where I was more than just someone else's wife, mother, or grandmother. Tomorrow, I would start putting myself first. I awakened to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows, momentarily disoriented, before remembering where I was. For the first time in decades, I had no obligations, no breakfast to prepare, no schedule to maintain, no one's needs to anticipate but my own. When I finally turned my phone back on, it nearly exploded with notifications. 43 missed calls, 68 text messages, 7 voicemails. Mom, this isn't funny anymore. The twins are asking where you are. Celeste, I've had to reschedule 2 crucial meetings to deal with this situation. Mrs. Reynolds, this is Sophia from the Charity Committee. We're concerned about tomorrow's planning session. The last voicemail from Prescott was different. His voice was quiet, almost humble. Celeste, please come home. I found your medication. Why didn't you tell me you were sick? Whatever's going on, we can face it together. Just come home. I deleted it without returning the call. My meeting with Valencia, the real estate agent, was scheduled for 10 a.m. I dressed in yesterday's clothes, my casual outfit that still cost more than most people's formal wear, and met her in the hotel lobby. "I have several properties to show you," she said brightly. "But there's one in particular I think you'll love. It just came on the market yesterday." The moment we pulled up to the lakeside villa, I knew. The Mediterranean-style home sat on a small promontory, almost entirely surrounded by water. Its terracotta roof and cream-colored walls glowed in the morning sun. "It's fully furnished," Valencia explained as we walked through rooms filled with elegant, understated furniture. "The previous owner was an artist who moved back to Italy unexpectedly. There's a studio in the back with northern light." The master suite featured a private terrace overlooking the water. The kitchen was fit for a chef, with high-end appliances I'd never use. But it was the small room off the living area that captured my heart. A library with built-in bookshelves and a window seat. "I'll take it," I said, surprising even myself with my decisiveness. Valencia blinked. "Don't you want to know the asking price?" I smiled. "I'm sure we can work something out." By afternoon, I'd made an all-cash offer significantly above asking price, with a stipulation for immediate occupancy. The sellers accepted within the hour. As I signed the preliminary paperwork in Valencia's office, my phone rang. Prescott again. I declined the call. "Trouble at home?" Valencia asked sympathetically. "No," I replied. "For the first time in many years, there isn't." Within 48 hours, I had keys to my villa. I spent the first day wandering from room to room in disbelief. This beautiful space was mine alone. No one could enter without my permission. No one could criticize my choices. No one could demand my time or energy. I hired a driver to take me shopping. First stop, a boutique where I purchased an entirely new wardrobe. Casual linen pants and flowing tops, comfortable shoes, colorful scarves. Nothing resembled the tailored designer outfits Prescott preferred me in, the ones that required shapewear and constant vigilance against wrinkles. Next, a bookstore where I filled a cart with novels I'd always wanted to read but never had time for. The young cashier raised an eyebrow at the quantity. "Starting a library?" he asked. "Something like that," I replied with a smile. At an electronics store, I bought a new phone with a number only I would know and a laptop that wasn't filled with everyone else's schedules. My next stop was a gourmet market where I found myself lingering in the specialty foods section. A man in a chef's coat noticed my indecision. "First time here?" he asked with a friendly smile. "First time shopping for just myself," I admitted. He introduced himself as Vincenzo, the market's culinary director. When I confessed that despite decades of planning meals for others, I'd never really cooked for pleasure, he invited me to join one of his weekly classes. "Cooking should be joy, not obligation," he said, writing down the details. "Thursday evenings, no pressure." By evening, I'd settled into my window seat with a new novel and a glass of wine, watching the sunset paint the lake in shades of gold and pink. The silence around me wasn't lonely. It was peaceful. On my third day, I finally called my oncologist from my new phone. "Dr. Chen, this is Celeste Reynolds. I'd like to discuss my treatment options." I scheduled my first chemotherapy session for the following week and arranged for a private nurse to assist me during recovery. My new address was registered with the hospital, with strict instructions that no information was to be shared with anyone else, including family members. When I finally checked my old phone again, there were fewer messages. The tone had changed from frantic to angry. "Mother, this disappearing act is completely irresponsible. The children are confused and upset. Celeste, I've had to hire a temporary housekeeper. Do you have any idea what this is costing? The Hendersons asked about you at the club. What am I supposed to tell people?" I composed a single text message and sent it to both Prescott and Sloan. "I've moved out permanently. I'm seeking treatment for lymphoma, which was diagnosed 2 weeks ago. The pathology report sat on our kitchen island for 5 days before I left. I'll be in touch regarding practical matters, but I need space and time to focus on my health. Please respect my decision. Then I blocked both numbers on my new phone, keeping the old one only to monitor their reactions. I wasn't running away. I was running toward the life I deserved, for however long I had left. I knew they would come eventually. A week after sending my text, the security system alerted me to visitors at the gate. Through the camera, I saw Prescott's Mercedes and Sloane's SUV parked outside my villa's entrance. I didn't buzz them in. Prescott's face appeared on the video screen, his expression a careful mask of concern that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Celeste, please let us in. We've been worried sick." I pressed the intercom button. "I'm fine, Prescott. As I said in my message, I need space right now." "Mom!" Sloane pushed her way into frame. "This is ridiculous. We need to talk about your situation. The twins miss you." "I miss them too," I said truthfully. "But this is what I need right now." "Celeste." Prescott's voice dropped lower, more intimate, the tone he used when trying to persuade difficult clients. "You can't handle cancer treatment alone. You need your family." "I've hired the support I need," I replied calmly. "With what money?" His voice sharpened instantly. Ah, there it was. His real concern. "My money," I said simply. "The trust fund from my parents that you've never had access to." His face darkened. "You've always been impulsive, Celeste. But this is extreme even for you. What will people think? A woman your age, living alone." "I don't care what people think anymore. That's your concern, not mine." "Mom," Sloane tried a gentler approach. "At least let me come in, just me." I hesitated. She was my daughter after all. "Please," she added. "I brought some of your things from the house." I relented and buzzed her in alone. Minutes later, she stood in my living room, taking in the high ceilings, the elegant furnishings, the wall of windows overlooking the lake. "This must be costing a fortune," was her first comment. "Hello to you too, Sloane." She flushed slightly. "Sorry, it's just, this is all so sudden." "Is it? Or was it decades in the making?" She set down a small suitcase. "I brought your jewelry box and some clothes." "Thank you." I didn't tell her I'd already replaced everything. "Mom, you can't just disappear like this. Dad's a mess. The charity board is in chaos. The twins keep asking when you're coming home." I gestured toward the sofa. "Would you like some tea?" She sat stiffly. "Dad's waiting outside." "He can keep waiting. I want to talk to my daughter, not Prescott Reynolds' spokesperson." Sloane shifted uncomfortably on my sofa, her gaze darting around the room as if seeking escape routes. For the first time, I noticed how much she resembled her father, not just physically, but in her mannerisms, her priorities, her approach to problems. "How bad is it?" she finally asked. "The cancer." "Stage 2 lymphoma. The prognosis is good with treatment, but it won't be easy." "Why didn't you tell us right away?" I sighed. "The report was on the kitchen island for almost a week, Sloane. No one noticed." "We're busy people, Mom. You can't expect us to care enough to ask why there was a medical folder with my name on it." The words came out sharper than I intended. She flinched. "That's not fair." No, it wasn't fair. Just like it wasn't fair that I spent 37 years managing everyone else's lives while no one noticed mine was slipping away. "Is that what this is about? You feeling unappreciated?" Her tone carried an edge of dismissal that stung. "This is about me finally putting myself first," I said quietly. "Something I should have done long ago." She stood abruptly. "So you're just abandoning us? Your family? Your responsibilities?" "My responsibility now is to heal, physically and emotionally." Sloane paced the room, agitated. "Dad says you've blocked our numbers on your new phone. How are we supposed to reach you in an emergency?" "What kind of emergency, Sloane? Harrison can't find his cufflinks? The twins have a recital?" Your father needs his shirts pressed a certain way? That's not fair, she repeated, but with less conviction. I softened my tone. I'm not abandoning you or the twins. I'm creating boundaries. There's a difference. What about Dad? 37 years of marriage and you just walk away. I looked out at the lake, gathering my thoughts. Did you know your father never once came to a doctor's appointment with me? Not even when I had that breast cancer scare 5 years ago. She looked genuinely surprised. I didn't know that. There's a lot you don't know, I said gently. Like how he forgot our 30th anniversary and had his assistant rush order a bracelet the next day. Or how he interrupted my mother's funeral to take a business call. He works hard, she defended automatically. Yes, he does. And I respected that. But somewhere along the way, I became just another asset in his portfolio. The wife who makes everything run smoothly, who never complains, who's always available. And now? Now I'm going to focus on staying alive. If that makes me selfish in your eyes, I'll have to live with that. My first chemotherapy session was scheduled for a Tuesday morning. I'd arranged for Zara, my private nurse, to stay at the villa for the first few days afterward to monitor my reaction to the treatment. The day before, I received a text from Sloan on my old phone. Would you like me to come with you tomorrow? It was the first genuine offer of support I'd received. I hesitated, then responded, Thank you, but I've made arrangements. I'll let you know how it goes. The oncology center was state-of-the-art, a far cry from the sterile hospital I'd initially visited. My insurance covered most of it, and what it didn't, I happily paid for. The treatment room had comfortable recliners, large windows, and attentive staff. As the nurse inserted the IV, I closed my eyes and practiced the meditation techniques I'd been learning. The clinical psychologist I'd started seeing, another decision I'd made for myself, had suggested visualization to help manage anxiety during treatment. I imagined the medication as golden light flowing through my veins, seeking out and destroying the cancer cells. I visualized myself afterward, sitting on my terrace, watching the sunset over the lake. Halfway through the 4-hour session, I opened my eyes to find Prescott standing in the doorway of the treatment room. He looked uncharacteristically disheveled, his usually perfect hair slightly mussed, his eyes shadowed with what appeared to be genuine concern. Sloan told me, he said simply. I didn't invite you here, I replied, conscious of the other patients nearby. He approached cautiously, as if I might bolt. I know, but I couldn't let you do this alone. I'm not alone. I nodded toward Zara, who hovered protectively nearby. Prescott pulled up a chair anyway, sitting just far enough away to respect my space, but close enough to talk quietly. You look good, he said awkwardly. I almost laughed. Even now, his first comment was about my appearance. Chemotherapy tends to change that, I replied dryly. He had the grace to look embarrassed. I didn't mean, You seem different. I am different. Celeste, I know I made mistakes, big ones, but 37 years counts for something, doesn't it? I studied his face, the face I'd woken up to for nearly 4 decades. There was sincerity there, but also calculation. Prescott was nothing if not strategic. Yes, I said finally. It counts for enough that I'm willing to have a civil relationship with you, but I'm not coming back, Prescott. Because of the cancer report? Because I didn't notice it. Because I finally noticed myself. 3 weeks into my chemotherapy, I was surprised by an unexpected visitor. I was sitting on my terrace, wrapped in a cashmere throw despite the mild weather. The treatments left me perpetually cold, when the security system announced, Harrison Parker at the gate. My son-in-law. Interesting. I buzzed him in, curious why he'd come alone. Harrison and I had always had a cordial but distant relationship. He was ambitious, hardworking, and completely devoted to Sloan and the twins. But we rarely spoke without my daughter present. He appeared on my terrace looking uncomfortable, a gift bag dangling from one hand. "Harrison, this is a surprise." "Celeste?" He nodded formally. "You look well." It was a lie, of course. The chemotherapy had already begun its work. My hair was thinning, my complexion sallow, but social niceties were Harrison's default setting. "Thank you for seeing me," he continued. "I brought something for you." He handed me the gift bag. Inside was an expensive silk scarf in shades of blue and green that matched the lake. "Sloan mentioned you might need something for your head, if the treatments—" The unexpected thoughtfulness brought tears to my eyes. "That's very kind. Thank you." He shifted from foot to foot. "May I sit?" I gestured to the chair opposite mine, and he settled into it, gazing out at the water. "Beautiful spot," he said. "Very peaceful." "Yes, it is." We sat in silence for a few moments before he spoke again. "I want to apologize," he said formally. "For what?" "For not noticing. For being part of the problem." He cleared his throat. "When Sloan showed me your text about the report sitting on the counter for days, I realized I'd seen it too. I remember thinking it was probably just routine blood work or something. It was the first genuine acknowledgement I'd received from anyone in my family. I appreciate that, Harrison." He leaned forward. "The twins miss you terribly. They don't understand what's happening. I miss them too, more than you know. Would you consider seeing them? They could visit here, maybe on a weekend. Just them, with me if that's all right. I know Sloan's still angry," I finished for him. "Yes, I'd love to see the twins." Relief washed over his face. "Thank you. I think it would help them understand. And they should know about your illness, in an age-appropriate way." I studied him with new appreciation. There was a depth to Harrison I hadn't recognized before. "Why did you really come today, Harrison?" He met my eyes directly. "Because I've been watching my wife turn into Prescott for years, and it terrifies me. And when you left, it was like watching someone break free from quicksand. I thought maybe some of that courage might rub off on Sloan if we maintained a connection." His honesty stunned me. "And Prescott?" "Prescott," Harrison said carefully, "is a brilliant businessman and a terrible husband, but you already know that." The twins' first visit to the villa transformed the space. Their laughter echoed through rooms that had known only my solitary footsteps. Arya immediately claimed the window seat in the library, while Jasper explored the terrace, counting boats on the lake. "Nana, your house is like a castle," Arya declared, bouncing on the window seat cushions. Harrison had prepared them well. They asked careful questions about why my hair was different. "It's because of the medicine I'm taking, and why I got tired so quickly. The medicine that's making me better also makes me need extra rest." After lunch, when I needed to lie down, Harrison took them for a walk along the lakefront path. When they returned, Jasper presented me with a collection of smooth stones, and Arya had made a bracelet of woven grass. "For luck," she said solemnly as she tied it around my wrist. That evening, after Harrison had taken the twins home, I received a text from Sloan on my new phone number, which Harrison must have given her. "The twins can't stop talking about your castle. Would it be okay if I came with them next time?" It was the olive branch I'd been waiting for. "I'd like that," I replied. The following weekend, Sloan arrived with the twins. Her posture was stiff, her greeting formal, but she'd made the effort to come. While the children played on the terrace under Harrison's supervision, Sloan and I sat in the living room, the silence between us thick with unspoken words. "You look better than I expected," she finally said. "The treatments are going well," I replied. "My oncologist is pleased with the progress." She nodded, studying her hands. "Dad's dating someone, Valentina Harding from the country club. She's 52. I absorbed this information, surprised by my lack of jealousy. "I hope they're happy." Sloane's head snapped up. "That's it?" You don't care? I want your father to be happy, Sloane, just like I want happiness for myself. By leaving everyone who loves you, by creating a life that nurtures me instead of depletes me. She fell silent again, then whispered, I'm trying to understand. That's all I'm asking. The twins need their grandmother, and I need to be more than just a grandmother, more than just Prescott's wife or your mother. I need to be Celeste. Were you really that unhappy? Her voice was small, childlike, not unhappy exactly, more invisible, even to myself. She wiped away an unexpected tear. I don't want to become Dad. That's what Harrison says is happening to me. I reached for her hand. Then don't. Make different choices. Set boundaries. Put yourself first sometimes. Like you're doing now. Yes, like I'm doing now. A bit late, perhaps, but better late than never. For the first time since I'd left, she smiled at me. A real smile, not the tight social one she'd perfected. This place really is beautiful, Mom. Would you like a tour? As we walked through the villa, I showed her the library where I'd started writing again, the studio where I was learning to paint, the garden I was planning for the spring, if I was still here in the spring. I even showed her the kitchen, where my weekly cooking classes with Vincenzo were slowly teaching me to enjoy food preparation for the first time. Mom, she said hesitantly as we stood on the terrace, I found a specialist in New York, one of the top lymphoma researchers. Would you consider getting a second opinion? I pulled her into a hug, surprised when she didn't stiffen or pull away. Yes, I whispered into her hair. I would. 6 months into my treatment, the oncologist delivered unexpected news. I was in remission. The aggressive therapy had worked better than anticipated. You're not out of the woods yet, Dr. Chen cautioned. We'll need to monitor you closely for at least 2 years, but this is excellent progress. I celebrated with a small dinner party at the villa, Sloane, Harrison, and the twins, along with Zara, who had become more friend than nurse, and Valencia, my real estate agent turned confidant. Vincenzo, my cooking instructor, prepared a Mediterranean feast, teaching the twins how to make homemade pasta while the adults enjoyed wine on the terrace. That evening, after everyone had gone home, the security system alerted me to a visitor. Through the camera, I saw Prescott's car. I hesitated before pressing the intercom button. It's late, Prescott. I heard your news, he said. Sloane told me. May I come in? Just for a few minutes. Against my better judgment, I buzzed him through. Prescott stood in my living room, taking in the space with an appraiser's eye. He looked older than when I'd left, the lines around his eyes deeper, his posture less commanding. Nice place, he said finally. Suits you. Thank you. So remission. That's wonderful news, Sally. Celeste, I corrected gently. I go by Celeste now. He nodded, accepting this small but significant change. Celeste, then. Would you like something to drink? I have that scotch you like. You remembered. He seemed touched by this. I poured him 2 fingers of Macallan 18 and a sparkling water for myself. We sat across from each other, the coffee table between us like a demilitarized zone. I've been seeing someone, he said abruptly. Sloane mentioned. Valentina, right? He nodded. She's uncomplicated. I couldn't help but laugh. Is that what you wanted? Uncomplicated? He had the grace to look embarrassed. I didn't come here to talk about Valentina. Why did you come, Prescott? He set down his glass. To apologize for not seeing you, for not noticing the report, for a lot of things. Thank you, I said simply, and to ask if there's any chance. I cut him off gently. No, Prescott, there isn't. He nodded, as if he'd expected this answer. Can I ask why? Really, why? I considered the question carefully. Because I've discovered I like who I am without you more than who I was with you. His face registered genuine hurt. Was it really that bad? Not bad, just not enough, not for me. Not anymore. He finished his scotch in one swallow. The divorce papers arrived yesterday. Will you sign them? Do I have a choice? We always have choices, Prescott. That's what I've learned. He stood to leave, then paused. You know, you really do look beautiful. Different somehow, more ... Alive, I supplied. I feel more alive. At the door, he turned back one last time. Are you happy, Celeste? I didn't hesitate. Yes, for perhaps the first time I truly am. After he left, I stood on my terrace watching the moonlight play across the lake's surface. Tomorrow I would begin a new chapter. Cancer-free, soon to be divorced, and completely, wonderfully myself. 1 year to the day after I'd walked out of my old life, I hosted a gathering at my villa. It wasn't a celebration of my cancer remission, though that continued to go well. It wasn't a divorce party, though Prescott had finally signed the papers 3 months earlier. It was simply a celebration of life, my life specifically. The guest list was eclectic: Sloane, Harrison, and the twins, of course. Zara, who now visited weekly as a friend rather than a nurse. Valencia and her wife, who'd become regular dinner companions. My writing group from the community center. My painting instructor. Vincenzo, who had moved from being my cooking teacher to a dear friend who still insisted I needed to learn proper knife skills. These were people who knew Celeste, not Celie. People who had no expectations of me beyond my authentic self. As twilight settled over the lake, I clinked a glass for attention. Thank you all for coming tonight, I began. A year ago, I received 2 pieces of life-altering news. First, that I had cancer. Second, that I'd been invisible for so long, even to myself, that a medical crisis could sit in plain sight without anyone, including me, demanding it be acknowledged. Sloane squeezed my hand, her eyes misty. What started as the darkest period of my life became, unexpectedly, the most illuminating. I learned that it's never too late to rewrite your story, never too late to set boundaries, never too late to discover who you truly are. I gestured to the wall behind me, where a series of paintings hung. My paintings, documenting my journey through treatment, recovery, and renewal. Next month, these will be featured in a small exhibition at the Community Arts Center. Not because they're masterpieces, they certainly aren't, but because they tell a story of transformation that might resonate with others. The twins whooped and applauded, making everyone laugh. I've also finished the first draft of my novel, I continued, smiling at my writing group. Something I dreamed of doing since college but never made time for. Harrison raised his glass. To Celeste 2.0, he called out. Better and stronger than ever. Everyone echoed the toast, even little Aria and Jasper with their juice boxes. Later, as guests mingled on the terrace, Sloane found me in a quiet moment. You know what I realized recently, she said. I've never seen you happier than you are right now, and it makes me wonder if I ever really knew you before. You knew the version of me I thought I had to be, I replied. Now you're getting to know the real me. I like the real you, she said softly. I do too, I answered with a smile. From across the terrace, I caught sight of the twins splashing their feet in the decorative fountain, Harrison watching indulgently instead of scolding them as he once would have. Sloane followed my gaze. We're changing too, she said. Harrison and I, since you left, it's like you gave us permission to examine our own lives. The sun was setting now, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. Guests gathered at the railing to watch, exclaiming over the beauty. Sometimes, I said, more to myself than to Sloane, it takes a crisis to show us what truly matters. She nodded. And sometimes it takes courage to act on that knowledge. I looked around at this gathering, my new friends, my evolving family, my transformed home. What had begun with a cancer diagnosis and a family's indifference had become something I never could have imagined. A life truly, finally, gloriously mine. Worth it, I whispered to the setting sun. every step worth it.